Man, it really sucks that this guy's name is Justin Mohn, because I could, there's a lot of good Jamaican, oh, whatever. Anyway, getting into the story. This guy's name is Justin Mohn. He has created one of the wildest stories of the new year. So this guy has some problems. And I haven't seen his medical records. I haven't seen his mental health records. But he's got some problems. And I don't like to appeal to common sense, but I'm going to appeal somewhat to common sense here. I don't like it. It doesn't make sense. Appealing to common sense doesn't make sense, but I'll do it in this case. So this guy's from Pennsylvania, and he uploaded a YouTube video recently of what appears to be a severed head that he takes off screen. And I've seen the video, so I can describe it in more detail. Wrapped in what looks like a clear plastic wrap, face and it's wrapped tight, squished, bald head. It was haunting. It was really haunting how much effort he put on. He even had gloves to hold the head. It was the first thing he did was show the screen the head, then put it down, and then he recorded a message titled titled Mohn's Militia. Mohn's Militia was the name of the video, and he proceeds to record a message calling for the people to throw up the corruption, to throw off the evil, to throw off these disgusting Democrats, and fight, fight, fight. It seems like what he wanted to do, and this is me making some assumptions here, but I don't think it's that hard to realize. If the video's titled Mohn's Militia, he just beheaded someone, he wanted this to be spewed around the country and people to take the message from this that it's time to act, and then they would join his militia. He'd be like John Brown, but awful and not caring about racism at all. So just John Brown, but for made up slavery, like completely made up issue. Now, there's an element of the story that makes it even more horrific. And the guy he killed was a federal employee, or at least he calls him a federal employee. It was a police officer, and it was his father. He beheaded his father to make this point because his father worked for the government, and the government is bad, so then he murdered his father. Here is him talking right after he raised the head on screen.
He is now in hell for eternity as a traitor to his country. It is said that those who commit treason and betray others occupy the lowest pits of hell for all time. The federal government of America has declared war on America's citizens and the American states. America is rotting from the inside out as far-left, woke mobs rampage our once prosperous cities, turning them into lawless.
Gotta say, I've seen a lot of rioting. I've been in places where there's been riots. Never in my life did I see somebody in black bloc behead somebody. Gotta say, when we talk about lawless city, oh, the cities are so lawless, and you're in your suburban home beheading your father, kind of hard for me to take you seriously.
Zones. Taxpayer dollars are printed and used for anything but the taxpayers, with little to no accountability, which has
I think they pay your father's salary, actually.
inflated the economy.
Man, this is demented.
To near destruction, and has made it so most Americans can no longer afford the American dream. Meanwhile, a fifth-column army of illegal immigrants infiltrates our border, and if the traitorous Biden regime...
So I do want to throw out there, this right here is a big part of the reason why I'm against the use of the invasion word. Invasion, attack on the country, when talking about the crossing of the border. Because I've seen an invasion before. I've seen a real invasion in person. I've seen people be fired upon by tank shells and artillery shells and dragged away. It's horrible. It's awful. Awful. That's what an invasion is. It's not Pablo wanting to come over here and get a job in order to pay for his kids' education so they don't go join the cartel. It's very different. And that's not to say that nobody that crosses the border is bad. There's people who have crossed the border who were on a terrorist watch list. There have been people who crossed the border who were criminals. But in the case in Ukraine, in the case of an actual invasion, what they do is they gather up all the criminals, give them tanks, and charge in. They don't sneak in and try to hide. It's very different. And when you use this type of language, people start thinking it's the former instead of the latter. They start thinking in the language and terminology of the invasion of Ukraine, of war, of conquest, of death and destruction, of them being conquered, instead of the language of these people being vulnerable, needing help, or hey, how do we properly make sure that people coming into our country are, you know, good people who can contribute. All countries deal with undocumented immigration. Hell, even North Korea has people who cross over and try to smuggle people out. All countries have this problem to some degree, but not all of them have people beheading people over undocumented immigration. If you use this type of rhetoric, it has an effect. Anyway, I wanted to also just quickly read some of the statements from the local township, because the local officers are kind of in shock. By the way, the guys who got killed was 68-year-old Michael Mohn. I forgot his first name. Let me see if I can get some of police statements from this before, and we are going to do this. We're going to listen to the guy's full statement. We're not going to look at this. We're not going to look at the footage for obvious reasons, but we're going to listen to the guy's full statement. Police said they were able to track Mohn by pinging his cell phone to the Fort Indianatown Gap in Lebanon County, and about 100 miles from the crime scene. Local police put the area on lockdown. Moments later, police found the Toyota Corolla he was driving abandoned outside of the Indiana Gap National Guard training facility. It then took a few minutes to find the suspect walking onto the base property, where he was reportedly found with a firearm, but was arrested without incident at 9:30 p.m. Tuesday. I wonder, okay, I'm actually wondering, it says it's unclear why he was in the area. I wonder if he was going to go into the National Guard Training Center and start just shooting people, or if he was so demented that he was going to go in there and be like, instead of joining the National Guard, join my militia. See, I'm real about it. Here's a picture of my father's beheaded head. Because when you're this far out, and when you stay in these like online communities and you get dug into these rabbit holes that radicalize people, in many of the ways similar to how this man is radicalized, a lot of those people start to assume that basically everyone agrees with them. The real people of America agree with them, and they're just the silent majority. And so he could be under the delusion, for all we know, that he actually is going to do something that's received well. I mean, it's called he called the videos Mohn's Militia. The whole point of the video was to start that side of a revolution. So I don't know if he thought he was going to recruit them or if he was going to shoot them. It's America's busiest National Guard training camp center. Man, so he went to the busiest one too. Well, I mean, that doesn't point in either direction either, but still, same thing applies. Could be trying to recruit him, could be trying to kill him, we don't know. I think the neighborhood can rest easy, because I think they were a little uneasy for a while before they knew where the person of interest was. Portela said the son lived inside the home on Upper Orchard Drive in Levittown. I am sad for the family. I'm very sad for the community, and also for the people that knew him. That was upsetting. So very, very upsetting in our neighborhood, in any neighborhood. Mohn, who was arrested on a weapons possession charge, was arraigned early Wednesday and held without bail. Our officers from our department drove up to Fort Indiana Gap and took custody of him, bringing him back to the Bucks County for arraignment. He was brought back here for arraignment by 4 p.m. I want to now play the audio. And I'm going to play the audio not because this guy is some genius and we need to know what he believes, because he's a genius and smart, he's got good ideas. Dude's demented. I don't think you should take political advice from somebody who beheaded their father. This guy is on another level of crazy. But if we listen to the rhetoric that he uses, and I do, and this is why I don't believe in like banning manifestos and stuff like that, we can get an idea of what motivated him, what type of rhetoric could have pushed him down this path, what kind of rabbit holes led him to become basically a American terrorist, and then take from that what we will. So I think it's better that we just look it straight in the eye, even though we can't literally look it in the eye because of the video, and just take it on its own terms instead of reading a news article not saying all of what he said. I'd like to hear what this psychopath has to say. I understand if you guys don't want to, but I want to know. I want to know what type of rhetoric it is. Because when I hear that rhetoric of invasion, I start making connections to this type of stuff we're hearing in the media. The type of stuff that could have led him down a rabbit hole. The type of stuff that could have led him to think that he and his family, or, well, not his family, obviously, but the country was in danger. Anyway, let's listen. The video's title was Mohn's Militia, Call to Arms for American Patriots. Now, the full audio is a double speed, so because they just wanted to keep it all in and not get taken down, because every video of this guy is getting taken down. So we're going to keep it on double speed as well.
This is the head of Mike Mohn, a federal employee.
We'll slow it down a little bit. It's a little fast.
Of over 20 years, and my father. He is now in hell for eternity as a traitor to his country. It is said that those who commit treason and betray others occupy the lowest pits of hell for all time. The federal government of America has declared war on America's citizens and the American states. America is rotting from the inside out as far-left, woke mobs rampage our once prosperous cities, turning them into lawless zones.
So let's be clear. When he talks about the lawless mobs, there are there's these things about like flash looting where a big crowd will go in and loot from a store. And there were riots, some riots during the George Floyd protests in reaction to his death, even though the vast majority were peaceful. It's just statistically true. But I don't understand, and I still don't get, how he thinks beheading someone and then breaking the law is going to deal with that lawlessness or create less violence. If his problem was the amount of lawlessness or violence on the street, how does he think something like this is going to decrease the violence? It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Demented doesn't make sense. Just wanted to point out the obvious.
Taxpayer dollars are printed and used for anything but the taxpayers, with little to no accountability, which has inflated the economy to near destruction and has made it so most Americans can no longer afford the American dream.
It probably cost them a lot to get the knife, yeah.
Meanwhile, a fifth-column army of illegal immigrants infiltrate.
But by the way, there are real economic pressures. I don't know if that pushed him in any way. I think it might just be, his dialogue tree.
Inflated the economy to near destruction and has made it so most Americans can no longer afford the American dream. Meanwhile, a fifth-column army of illegal immigrants infiltrates our border, and if the traitorous Biden regime is successful in sending America's military overseas to fight for Ukraine and die in a Russian winter, just like every other military who has ever fought Russia in the winter, then America will be less protected when the fifth column of illegal immigrants strikes Americans on our own soil.
So we have another anti-Ukraine aid guy. I do want to note, this is, I think, the second pro-Russia or anti-Ukraine terrorist in the last 2 years. The first one was the Buffalo shooter, who included pro-Russia narratives and rooted for Russia in his manifesto, saying it would destroy the degeneracy of the West and help with the race war. You get the idea. And so this is the second, either pro-Russia or anti-Ukraine terrorist. I don't know what is connecting this issue specifically with these crazies. I don't know, but it is. As for the idea that, again, we're going to send over troops over there and we're all going to die and lose in a war because we can't beat the Russians during winter. So the first thing is, if we were to lose a war to the Russians, at this point right now, it would probably be because we all died in a nuclear hellfire. So I don't really know if we ended up losing, how the winter element would even play into it. But somebody told this guy that we were going to go to war with Russia and World War III was happening. World War III doomerism. We're all going to die, we're all going to die, we're all going to die. Now, if you genuinely believe we're all going to die, we're all going to die, we're all going to die, as certain irresponsible online commentators has been constantly pushing with no filter, same with those who constantly say civil war is around the corner, you're going to be pushing people into survival mode, especially crazies, who are going to be much more easy to believe that. And if they're in survival mode and they think that their life, or the life of their country, the life of their people, the life of their freedom, life of whatever cause they believe in is that threat, they might take radical action. And this right here, and even though, of course, I'm not going to point to any individual commentator and say they did it, we don't know all the details. What I am going to say is that putting out terrifying, fear-mongering messages, either for the algorithm or to help your political side, can have negative consequences. If you lie to people that World War III is imminent and that and the Russians never lose wars, even though the Russians lost the first invasion of Chechnya, the Soviet Union lost the invasion of Afghanistan, Russia has lost wars. They lost the war with Japan, 1905. They've lost wars. They've lost battles. But if you fearmonger someone and say, number one, World War III is imminent, and number two, the Russians can't lose, then you're basically telling them that America collapse is imminent. And then you've sent them into survival mode. That type of rhetoric has effects. And I'm not saying that you can't treat Russia like a powerful nation state that's having an impact on Ukraine, but just don't lie about the imminency of the world collapsing. I think some people, in an effort to try to bring attention to issues that they care about, they're willing to use extremely hyperbolic language in order to try to garner attention, either for profit or for their personal ideology. But a lot of times what you're going to end up doing is misinforming people, making them panic, and you're just going to make the situation and the information space 10 times worse.
My name is Justin Mohn. I'm the commander of America's national network of militias, which...
Wow. If he is the commander, then I gotta say, I think we're fine. I think we're safe. We got them all in one fell swoop.
Which you may know of as
the National Network of One.
of America's national network of militias, which you may know of as Mohn's militia. I now give the following order for all militia and patriots across the United States of America.
See, I like the you might know it as Mohn's militia. Like he thought this was gonna take off. People was getting, I'm with Mohn, man. Like Tucker Carlson was gonna tweet out, a hero did something brave yesterday on Twitter and just post a video like, hey guys, you should go join Mohn. Unbelievably deluded.
I now give the following order for all militia and patriots across the United States of America. All federal employees are to be on site. All FBI, IRS, and other federal law enforcement offices, as well as federal courthouses, are to be sieged around the country. All federal agents, U.S. Marshals, federal judges, and Border Patrol are to be or else captured, tortured for information, and publicly betraying their country.
Okay, so he just declared total war on any and all federal employees. But this would mean fighting not only, you know, the federal employees, would also mean fighting the entirety of the armed force. Like, what is the smart thing to do? And this is what, like, the Syrians did at the start of the Syrian revolution that gave them a big boost. A lot of it was people who defected from the Syrian army. People who saw that Assad was shaky, jumped ship, or were so horrified by his actions that they switched. And I'm not giving advice to the next terrorist beheading guy, but if you wanted to do this, the appeal wouldn't be just kill everyone on site. It would be it would be something along the lines of, I am giving a warning for everybody to draw, you should leave them now while you still can. Gotta say, this guy who beheaded his father might not have had the most thorough plan.
Earn your place in heaven by sending a traitor to hell early. I ask America's police, state National Guard.
Also, what, like, when you say kill all federal, like, all, like, so what, we're talking about, like, gonna go to the national parks, you're gonna go hurt the people who are looking out for the bears and stuff, like, what about the people who work on, I grew up in a Fed household, so, you know, maybe I take this a little personally, and this is making me a little worried, because I do live in an area where there are a lot of Feds that work, but when people say Fed, what does that mean? Could mean you're a machinist for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Could mean you're like a janitor at any of these different, it could mean any number of things. Like, what usefulness comes from killing or hurting like some random machinist? I do actually have some fear for the quote-unquote Feds of America. I doubt they would be the first to be targeted, but when you say Fed, that covers so many people. They don't even have to deal with the issues that you care about. Again, it's just they're online and they hear Fed this, Fed that, Fed this, Fed that all the time. They're the enemy. The Fed is the enemy. So fight them, hurt them.
Earn your place in heaven by sending a traitor to hell early. I ask America's police, state National Guard, and military veterans to join your countrymen against the traitors in the
Oh, so he did do at least the army join up, but just not the Feds join up then. Okay.
Federal government, unless you want to see Philadelphia and every other major city in America turn into a lawless zone like Portland and San Francisco. While
I'm sure the Law and Order crowd loved your video.
we siege
Sure, man. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to laugh because it's a sad situation, but it's just so bizarre.
federal buildings and hunt down federal employees at their homes or anywhere else they may be hiding. I ask for local Pennsylvania and New Jersey militia to act as my personal security force and form a protective zone around me to a federal agent who attempts to arrest or kill me.
Yeah, well, oh, that's why he went to the National Guard. Well, now he was going to the National Guard because I was right. He thought they were going to be his homies. He went to the largest National Guard training center because he thought that they were all going to join up with him. He's really that deluded.
Governor Shapiro and other state governors are not to be harmed unless they intervene. The federal government is the enemy, not the state government. If I am captured or killed, do not give up. This is America and—
Well, Rip, it's over. Is that why he was smiling in the picture? Does he really still think it's still going to work? Because if you look at the, yeah, look, if you look at this picture, that dude's smiling. Does he think that he probably still thinks it's going to go on? Now he's been captured. Now he's just waiting for his patriots to come out.
And our freedoms we are fighting for. This is our children's futures we are fighting for. Joe Biden is no longer in power. I am now officially the acting president of America under martial law.
Wow. I didn't know we had that power in the Constitution.
If Joe Biden
I didn't know it was if you behead your father, you become president.
does not abdicate, then capture him and bring him to me in Pennsylvania. General Charles Brown, General Lloyd Austin, and all other active American military generals. Now is our last chance to retake America from the traitors.
Wait, 1 second. 1 second. Yeah? Hey, Dad. I haven't visited you in a while, man. Now we gotta catch up. Could you come over this weekend? Anyway, love you. Bye-bye.
Do not order the military against the state militias and America's patriots. We are not your enemy, and I ask the military to join us if they want to see America continue to exist and to uphold their oaths to defend the Constitution. No American military personnel are to be harmed during this revolution by my followers. I am issuing a $1 million bounty on the following individuals alive.
Wait, the 1 million? Does he doesn't have $1 million. Who's gonna cash out on that? How do you even
Or $500,000. FBI Director Chris Wray.
Wow. By the way, that's a low bounty for the FBI director.
Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Again, very low bounty for Attorney General?
Ex-Attorney General Bill Barr and Supreme Court Chief Justice.
Why would you even go? He's not even in government anymore. Why even spend the time to locate $1 million for Bill Barr?
John Roberts. I am also issuing a $100,000 bounty on the heads of any and all federal judges, such as Judge Mark Kearney, who may...
Any and all federal judges, so just the entirety of America's legal system.
It is his goal to gut the Philadelphia Police Department of over $1 million of their funds, so that Philadelphia would turn into more of a lawless zone. Unless he has recently relocated, Judge Kearney lives in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. Judge Kearney also recently ruled in Moon.
Oh, that's awful. He did the full docs. That's gonna have to be muted in the video. Jesus.
The United States that the federal government has no duty to care for its own citizens, eroding, if not destroying, any remnants of the social contract, which was one of the key ideologies behind the Declaration of Independence, and one of the main reasons for the revolution that founded America. There are traitor federal judges such as...
I wonder if half of this is just Project 2025. I saw that in chat. I didn't want to steal it, but I stole it. I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to find the undertones of this, where he could have got, I'm trying to look for like words, phrases that I know from other commentators, so if I could make some idea out, but I can't. It's all so vague, and I've heard these themes repeated by so many different commentators, it's impossible to figure it out.
Installed in courts all across the country, purposely doing...
Honestly, that's terrifying.
The opposite of justice to destroy America from within and carry out a globalist and communist agenda. At this time, I have $10 million to exhaust on these bounties, but while I secure more funds, I hope for Americans to...
Wait, he has $10 million for these He doesn't have $10 million. Nick, get out of here. No, you don't have $10 million.
Continue fighting the...
Okay, your father's a cop, okay? I don't know. I know the police union fights hard, but they don't fight that hard.
Your federal government out of love for their country, not out of love for bounties. If you are a federal employee and are listening to this message, now is your last chance to resign...
Average NFT investor.
...from the side of the traitors and join your countrymen in taking back your country. Or else this is your fate. I urge the U.S. Post...
So this is your fate? That was him picking up his father's head and showing it on. That's what you heard.
Postal Service to suspend their services at this time, split from the federal government, and join your countrymen, or else I cannot offer federal postal workers any protection.
The postal workers? Really? Okay, what? Okay, so he's going after the postal workers? So is he going to make a postal worker unit, or does he just want the postal workers to stop to break down our like communication and transportation system? Dude, that's one way to turn you against their militia. Wait, why didn't I get my Amazon package? On's militia? Get my rifle.
If the media begins to spread lies about this revolution and its patriots, then I authorize the targeting of news stations and their owners and employees as well. The hunting, capturing, and America's federal employees will not stop until Americans' demands are met. Our demands are...
American. Thank you. American demand. There's one American here.
As follows. The resignation of all...
Actually, you're not an American anymore. You seceded. He's a monarchist or whatever.
All current non-military federal employees, and the abdication of Joe Biden and his cabinet from the White House. The cancellation of the outstanding public debt as unconstitutional, the ending of the Federal Reserve, and the restoration of Congress's right to print interest-free money. The closing of America's borders to illegal immigrants, and the mass deportation of the millions of illegal immigrants who have entered the country under the Biden regime, which has put Americans into...
Wow, this audio is horrible.
...direct harm. The ceasing of any human trafficking, specifically involving children and sex slaves. The ceasing of...
The other human trafficking can stop. It can keep going. Just the children. If you're an adult woman, different.
Of all woke and gender ideology propaganda in schools and other public places. Most importantly, the capturing and torturing of federal employees and their associates will not stop until the entire network of America's traitors is identified.
Torturing? So, oh God, they're gonna open Guantanamo too. So, in order to like fight the evil of the government, they just want to be like 10 times more evil? Is that the plan? Like, hey, I know how you guys have been screwed over through undocumented immigration and lawlessness, so we want to torture all government employees. Let's do it. What? I'm sorry, man. You know, this plan's not logical.
And completely wiped out. This likely includes bribed members of the deep state, labor racketeers of the prison industrial complex, as well as likely some of the globalist leaders of assorted industries, namely the tax-evading big tech companies. For when you produce evidence of treasonous levels of racketeering and tax evasion to the FBI, IRS, and federal courts, they turn a blind eye or sometimes even hide the evidence from the public. So long as Americans support me until the country is secure and we can hold a legitimate election, these demands will be met to restore our economy, revive our once great cities, and return to our ideological and moral roots as a Judeo-Christian nation.
I'm sure Jesus would have beheaded his dad.
Under my leadership, I will also authorize America's police and military to use whatever force necessary to protect and take back America's cities from fifth-column extremist organizations such as the LGBT community.
Wait, what? Okay, go back. Fifth column extremist. So, this guy, Justin Mohn, he's an anti-extremist advocate, actually. He cares a lot about de-radicalization.
And moral roots as a Judeo-Christian nation. Under my leadership, I will also authorize America's police and military to use whatever force necessary to protect and take back America's cities from fifth-column extremist organizations such as the LGBT community.
What does taking back your city from the gays even mean using the cops? What, do you go to, like, a street that has, like, rainbows painted on the, like, sidewalk and you, like, scrub it? Do you, like, shut down all gay bars? Shut down all LGBT rights organizations? What do you mean the LGBT gay takeover? Are there gay occupation forces somewhere? Is there a gay occupation somewhere? Where's the gay occupation?
The Black Lives Matter movement, and terrorist organizations such as Antifa, the historically unpeaceful assemblies of which violates the Constitution and so will be met with force and or imprisonment.
I'm hearing some rhetoric now, I recall.
Extremist organizations such as Antifa are part of the federal government's systematic, top-down, globalist and communist takeover of America.
That makes, I don't know why the American government would help Antifa for communism. Really make any sense. Joe Biden isn't a communist. Joe Biden was part of the Cold War. He helped fight the crusade against communism in office by voting for legislation and funding priorities for anti-communist efforts abroad. What? Okay. This is just weird.
And we must.
I don't understand the communist angle. Is it just, I think it's the internet's version of communism, when the government just does more stuff.
Stop it now before it's too late. For this reason, I cannot stress enough how important it is that we capture alive one of the key players involved in this treason, or else we may never discover the entire network of evil which will continue to plague America. This is a time for the American states and American citizens of all races.
Oh, because he hasn't been able to find it because the theories he believes aren't real, so he has to keep searching.
And religions to come together to fight for our country on our own soil against the traitorous federal government and their communist fifth columns such as the LGBT community, BLM movement, and Antifa, who are promoting racial division to create a race war and religious division to create a religious war.
Really? The guy who beheaded his dad is worried about civil war while asking for everyone to enter a civil war. He is such a complex individual.
They want to make us think we are each other's enemies, but true Americans are not each other's enemies. The corrupt federal government is the enemy, and there is more than enough evidence to show the federal government has disallowed any peaceful solutions, and that violence is the only solution to the federal government's treason and the actions of their fifth column terrorist organizations such as Antifa. Listeners may be wondering, how do I know for certain there are no peaceful solutions? I worked as a contractor for Microsoft and saw with my own eyes how Microsoft has evaded billions, if not trillions of dollars or more in taxes using cloud computing services.
Okay, that I can believe. See, he went through all this, and then the only thing he has evidence for is companies engage in tax evasion. Yeah, everyone knows companies engage in tax evasion. And your solution to that is attack the IRS employees that tax them? Guys, going somewhere. A prison, that is.
And then sells tax evasion as a service to other businesses, so that the more companies who use Microsoft's cloud services, the less taxes go to America's military, which greatens the tax burden on American citizens, as well as the companies who don't commit tax evasion. And when I whistle blew to the IRS about 5 years ago, they simply looked the other way. I also worked for several companies in the Democratic state of Colorado, and saw with my own eyes how a labor racket can control every big company in an entire city, to control everyone's lives in that city by means of the racketeer setting a citywide quota on companies firing employees, so that there is a constant level of unemployment, which creates a constant level of homelessness, which creates a constant level of crime, to fill up the prisons, so that prisons, lawyers, and courts can make money. And in these democratic cities where these labor prison rackets thrive, only the far left.
Many of the democratic cities in question, for example, I'm in Maryland, private prisons are illegal in Maryland. I remember being like young and I heard about private prisons and I was so horrified by private prisons because they are awful. And so I remember arguing with somebody in my state about it. And I was like, well, I think Larry Hogan has all these rules because he just wants to fill up the private prisons. And they looked at me and they said, no, we don't have private prisons. What? I looked it up. Yeah, private prisons aren't legal in Maryland. Can't have them. And it just showed how I was trying to take every issue in the world to fit dude, like I wanted to simplify a complex issue. Well, private prisons is definitely part of it. But I think this guy is of the belief that he's found all the solutions for all the world's problems, and therefore he feels completely justified in what he's doing, which is the most dangerous people, the people who actually believe it.
Left woke and LGBT employees have job security and get promotions, while the quota of unemployment and homelessness is often met with the cream of the crop of America's educated straight white men simply because they are educated straight white men and affirmative action is in place. But of course,
I think it's manipulated in order to make it so it's either Justin's audio is horrible or the person who edited this manipulated it so it wouldn't get taken out.
the far left woke LGBT community, BLM, and Antifa will also target African Americans and other minorities who don't toe the line to their socialist agenda. So don't think this has anything to do with race. This is an ideological and spiritual war. And when I filed a complaint to the FBI of this labor racketeering, they showed up at my door to threaten me with arrest. Meanwhile, in 2 separate lawsuits of mine, the federal judges hid the evidence from the public. We now know the enemy is on our soil and better funded than us. They have many of our public officials bribed, and they have connections to socialists, communists, and globalists all over the world who have even more money to place bribes or hire mercenaries with. And they all have the same agenda, to
The international communists are not that wealthy.
destroy America from within. Satan wants America to fall so that he can unleash his plan on the world. But
Come on. Come on, man.
our God is stronger, and he will not let us perish so long as we believe in him and fight for him and his creation, which
Damn, God let you down, didn't he? He just let he let you get snatched up and then nothing happened.
Satan wants to destroy and re-engineer.
I guess Satan won. What a bummer. For him at least.
I and many other leaders know how to fix America, but we have to fight for it. So, why should you follow me if some of you have never even heard of me? Prior to the 2020 presidential election, some electors and campaign contributors in both the Republican and Democratic parties saw me as the best candidate for President of America, despite my age, which can be confirmed by ex-governors John Hickenlooper and John Kasich, whose
What? What is he? This must have been like a very, very realistic dream. Had a very strange sleepwalking session. John Kasich did not endorse this man for president of America.
2020 presidential campaigns were sacrificed for me. So, although unlikely due to how divided America is, I could have been the first unanimously elected president by both parties since George Washington. But I was instead betrayed by the FBI, federal courts, and my own family because there are people who believe I'm the Messiah. And this belief goes against the federal government's satanic communist ideology. This belief that I'm the Messiah is also why you've never heard this story on the news, because it would spread that belief. I'm not saying I am the Messiah. I would never compare myself to Jesus Christ. I'm just saying that's why I was betrayed. Now the federal government seeks to betray all Americans, even
He's saying he's the Messiah. Or he's at least
federal employees betraying their own family members. And so, if there is a non-military federal employee in your family or group of friends, make it your New Year's resolution to kill them in order to protect your children.
All right, dude, it's awful. It's awful. It's awful. But hey, I got a New Year's resolution for you. Firebombing. Oh my God.
And your country. We are now witnessing what Jesus described in the Bible in Matthew 10.
Really?
Jesus said,
Matthew 10, thou hast beheaded thy father to prove thy loyalty to me.
brothers and sisters will betray one another and have each other put to death. Parents will betray their own children, and children will turn against their parents and have them killed. Everyone will hate
Oh, parents will turn against their children and have them killed. Huh.
you because of me. But if you remain faithful until the end, you will be saved. It is now time for true Americans and
So is that it? Is he fearful? Oh, he read the Bible. So he read the Bible and thought the Bible told him his dad was going to kill him? Oh, that's certainly a subjective reading. I don't believe that's part of, I grew up, my family descends from Presbyterians, you know, the snake charming folk. I grew up Baptist. Maybe this was part of the Catholic tradition, but I don't remember them. He must have, it must be like semi-religious why he did this then. If he went out of his way to read one Bible quote, and it just so happens to talk about fathers going after their sons.
children, and children will turn against their parents and have them killed. Everyone will hate you because of me, but if you remain faithful until the end, you will be saved. It is now time for true Americans and worshipers of our Father in heaven to put on the full armor of God described by Paul in the Bible in Ephesians 6:10. Paul said, "Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand." Our forefathers left.
Man, couldn't this guy have just gotten couldn't he have just gotten into, I don't know, like gardening or brains or something? Did it have to be like weird for semi-religious conspiracy rabbit holes?
left us with a sacred task to defend America, the greatest republic and most innovative and God-fearing nation the world has ever known, so that we may preserve the freedom and independence our Constitution grants us. The Constitution our forefathers wrote led to America's position as the world's strongest and most prosperous superpower. And, just like our forefathers before us who won the first American Revolution, we will be victorious this second American Revolution, so that our children and their children can have the country we once had before the traitors took it away from us.
And then the traitors arrested him.